Here we go. Wake up. Wake up. I'm tired. I'm tired. I'm not tired. You're awake. Have a sip. Get hair out, drink. Ah, that's hot. Compose yourself. 3, 2, 1. You're on. Oh, man. So, I've been feeling lonely recently, and how I've decided to deal with that loneliness was to kind of go out and drink. And I don't think drink has ever helped anyone who has been going through some mental turmoil. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's nice to release negative energy, and sometimes going out for a boozy one with your pals is nice to do. But for me, dealing with my loneliness, turning to alcohol wasn't the best thing for me, because it only made me feel worse. Shock, horror. Yeah, there was one night and the Champions League final was on, and I just felt off, and I was like, I just want to be around people. I want to have a nice time. I want to kind of fill this empty void that I've got growing inside of me. And I went with my pals and I had a nice time, but I don't know whether it was because I wanted to just kind of chase this happy feeling, or kind of like ride a wave of like happiness, or I just kind of wanted to fill this void that, you know, the Champions League final didn't fill within me. I mean, I'm not too fussed on football anyway, but I just wanted to be around people. I went anyway, but I decided at the end of it that I'm going to go to town. I want to carry on my night. I want to chase this night out that I really, really wanted to have. And nobody went with me, and I was like, I'm just going to go on my own. It'll be fine. Go on your own. You'll probably bump into people that you know and just latch onto their night, and you'll have a great time. And that was what I was telling myself. But I went out, and because I was feeling lonely, and because I knew I felt this way, like I was never really gonna be that confident Alex that I wanted to be in order to kind of meet people or latch onto somebody's night. I was very, you know, I was more looking for people to recognise me, more looking for people to kind of bring me along on their night, versus me being confident enough to kind of be outgoing, be extroverted, and do that myself.
You want a party?
Oh, thank God. Yes!
And, you know, when you feel like that, lonely and empty, like, it's kind of, you passively want somebody to realise that you're not okay, and you want somebody to ask you the question, like, are you okay? What's going on? Do you want to come out with us? Because you just want to feel noticed, and I just wanted to feel noticed. I wanted to feel seen. I wanted somebody to recognise that I wasn't okay, and I was really struggling to like let people know that I was feeling this way. And this was my way of trying to passively let people know that I'm going through the ringer, like I feel shit. I feel lonely and empty. But, you know what I mean? Like I thought I was giving off those vibes, but I could only assume that I must have just looked completely normal to everybody else. But I'm not surprised, because a lot of people do when they're going through shit. How they feel internally does not translate externally. And not unless somebody is so skilled at picking up on little cues and body language signs to kind of think, oh, something's off. Like, not a lot of people are that way inclined.
Does anything about my body language look like I'm happy?
But anyway, by the by, I ended up going to town on my own, and I was just drinking at the bar on my own, and I was trying to kind of, you know, because I knew I felt uncomfortable and I felt awkward, I thought that if I drank more, I would, you know, this confidence would just kind of bubble up and grow within me. But it didn't, and because I felt shit and I knew I felt shit, it only made me feel more shit. And it was just this kind of stupid vicious cycle. So in the end, it just got to the point where I was just standing in this bar and I was like, Alex, what the fuck are you doing here? Just leave, get out. You know what I mean? You're just gonna look like a proper little loser in the corner, like just leave the bar. Anyway, so I did. and I just started walking home, and in this kind of daydream movie film mindset that I was kind of in, I'm just going to put some music on, and I'm just going to put on some music that's just going to make me feel more than I need to. And I aptly put on my playlist, which I called The Feels. And like, I don't know, I suppose because I didn't get what I wanted out of going to a bar on my own, I just kind of wanted to maybe get myself to the point of crying so I could just disperse this negative energy. And I struggle to cry at the best of times. I find it really hard, and I wish I did, because sometimes when I feel shit, all I want to do is just bawl my eyes out, but I can never really quite reach that moment. But I put my music on, and I was walking through town, and I was kind of getting a little upset. I could feel my eyes welling up, like probably at moments I was giving a little whimper, like, and again, I think I just wanted people or somebody to just pick up on the fact that he looks sad, he doesn't look okay. And I vividly remember walking past this group of people, and this girl proper like dove out of her way and like waved at me. And I just kind of looked at her, and I felt I looked sad, and I was like, there's no way she can't have looked at me and kind of thought, fuck me, he's going through something. And I remember just walking past her, and in my head just thinking, please turn back round and just ask if I'm okay. Please, please, please just turn back round and ask if I'm okay. And she never did. But I, honestly, like, that's how I felt. I just really had this need and this want for somebody to just kind of like pull me aside and be like, are you okay, mate? And I honestly think had somebody done that at that point, I probably would have cracked and cried, because that's all I need. Like, that's, in that moment, that's all I needed. Just somebody to recognize me and notice me and just kind of say, are you okay? And I probably would have just been like, no, I'm not okay. I'm upset and I'm lonely. But that didn't happen. And, you know, I got home and I went to bed, and I woke up the next day and I kind of felt a little bit embarrassed, just kind of thinking, oh God, I can't believe I've done that. But, you know, tomorrow's always a new day, and it was just a restart, and I was like, right, that was a silly way to deal with whatever it is you're going through. You need to stop turning to drink and relying on drink as a crutch to kind of find your happiness. And, you know, that morning was a morning for me to just kind of be like, right, we need to sort this out. We need to kind of just start moving forward, little steps each day, and just kind of figuring out and deciphering like, what's wrong, where's this feeling come from, and how do we get you back to normal Alex, whatever normal Alex is. I don't think there is a normal Alex. You know, my moods fluctuate often, but you know, whatever normal is, I just want to try and get back to that, and here we are now, and definitely talking about it is a way for me to do that.
Oh, man.
I also want to talk through the other silly little things that went through my head as well. I mean, that was kind of like a quick overarching story time of that night. But there are other fleeting thoughts that come into your head, and I do want to share them as well, because they're equally as important to share. And I wrote them down because I forget quite often. When you are in the moment and you feel so raw and passionately and effervescently as you do when you're kind of going through something, it's so easy to forget these fleeting moments, and I have got myself in the habit of writing them down, because it's always good to read back through the next day, or just to remind yourself of what it is you go through. So I'm going to kind of look through what I've written and just kind of decipher how I was feeling for you.
This is gonna be good.
So here's one, and I just kind of wrote down, feeling left behind because you don't feel accomplished as a person, the loneliness that comes from comparing yourself to others. And that is, you know, this is probably more me just trying to decipher where this lonely feeling has came from. And I suppose when you as I do now and again, compare yourself to others, and they seem so far ahead in life as you, compared to you, sorry. You know, that distance that you give yourself between yourself and one other person, that makes you feel lonely. you know, as a 30-year-old guy, if I'm looking at like a mate who's, you know, same age, like living his life, and I'm putting him on a pedestal where he's up here and I'm down here, I'm creating that distance of loneliness because I'm not where I think I should be in relation to him. And that has such an effect on me. And I think that has an effect on a lot of people as well. But you quite often don't associate that with this kind of feeling of loneliness that can creep in, or recognise that that's where this feeling comes from. But that does create this level of distance that can make you feel lonely, that you're on your own on this path of life where you feel a little bit left behind, and that can isolate you, and it really does isolate me from time to time. Debated cutting myself, partly to punish myself, question mark, but more just to be seen, for someone to realise how utterly lost and self-depreciative I feel or have felt at some point. And again, that is another fleeting thought that has and does come into my head now and again when I'm really going through the ringer, that you know, and it's like anyone, you kind of have this struggle to reach out in the moment, and you know, you so desperately feel like you're crying out to somebody in your head, like, I'm not okay, I'm not okay. And you just can't find the confidence or the words to kind of articulate yourself correctly. And you know what, that's okay. Sometimes it's just enough to say to somebody, I'm not okay and I don't know why. But I don't know why that's hard to do. It's like in my head sometimes I feel like I need to perfectly articulate myself before I can kind of let somebody know that I'm not okay. But by the by, sometimes I do have thoughts like that where I'm like, God, you know, what if I did? And it's an extreme way to kind of reach out and to have somebody be like, oh my God, like, what are you doing? Like, you know, are you okay? Like, why are you cutting yourself? But I don't know, I don't even know why I put to punish myself. To punish myself for what? For being upset, for being human? I think it's more, you know, it's like I mentioned before, you passively want to let people know that you're not okay without you verbally telling them. And if you can give off little cues and signs that are going to do that, then some people do. And, you know, again, cutting yourself is one of them. And yeah, and I never have. I'll never say that I never will, because I don't know. I've never got to that point where it's been bad enough. But at the minute, they're only ever just thoughts. But, you know, it's a thought that comes through my head, and I think it's a thought that comes through a lot of people's heads when they're going through the ringer. Just this notion of, what can I do to passively get rid of this pain, to stop this pain, to let people know that I'm struggling, and that's one of them. How I want to push people away in the hopes that they will notice I'm gone and ask how I am, maybe even to just feel seen. And that's another one, just this notion of, you know, when I'm really feeling lonely and I feel like a bit of a ghost and that nobody recognises or appreciates that I'm around, that you distance yourself. And within that distancing and that pushing your friends away and keeping people at an arm's length, that they may at some point recognise that, like, ooh, Alex is being quiet, or Alex hasn't been around, I haven't seen Alex in a while, and they'll reach out. And again, if they reached out and went, oh, you're right mate, do you want to come out, how's things? Would I say there and then that I'm struggling? I don't know, but I think it's just that notion of just needing to feel seen and wanted. And wanted's a big word, to feel wanted. That, you know, that might be enough to just make you feel a little bit better. That, like, oh my God, people care. People do want me around.
You love me. You really love me.
And it's so weird how loneliness makes you feel, and how, I don't know, like, the games you play with yourself and others in order to kind of fill that empty void inside of you. And it all sounds so counterintuitive, because you're pushing people away, you're hurting yourself, but it makes sense in your head when you're going through it. It makes complete sense. And it's hard to kind of cut away from these notions and these thoughts and start to deal with loneliness in a healthier way, because that just feels so right in your head when you're going through it. And here's another big one. going on dating apps to feel seen and appreciated, purely because people have liked my profile. And, you know, like, I did do that fairly quickly when I was really going through the ringer. And I downloaded Hinge and Tinder, set up my profiles. And, you know what? They're some of the worst places to go to feel wanted and needed, because at the end of the day, it's vanity. And people don't like you for you. They maybe just find you attractive. And am I gonna talk to them? I'm feeling lonely. I'm feeling really down and inward. Like, I don't want to talk to anyone when I feel like that, but I just want to feel like they like me purely based on my looks. It doesn't make it ridiculous, I know.
Swipe yes on Betsy, swipe yes on Jennifer, swipe yes on Andrea, swipe yes on all the lady faces.
I don't know, it's just this need to feel wanted, and when I don't feel wanted, I get quite lonely and inward. But these are things I need to think more about and work on and understand more, because there's a lot of work to be done. But importantly with therapy, it's that, you know, when you know that you need to speak to somebody like a therapist, someone professional, somebody who can help you unpick and dissect and work on whatever it is you're going through, it's such, I would say at the minute, an upsetting process to kind of get yourself involved in, because I'm sure a lot of you know that the NHS is not set up to provide the mental health help that a lot of us need. And, you know, I've spoke to a lot of pals where they're on a waiting list for up to a year, maybe even 3 years, to kind of get the help that they need. It is also really underwhelming and upsetting to kind of think that, like, I feel shit now, I need help now, and I don't want to be on a waiting list for 3 years. So then you think, right, well, maybe I'll go private, but going privately, you know, you're spending £25, £50, £75, £100 an hour, depending on your therapist or where you go, per session. And, you know, I don't have that disposable income to do that. So you don't go private. So you're just kind of stuck in between two places that are providing help for you that you do not have the energy for, because one's out your price range and the other one, the waiting list's obscene. So you just decide, right, I'm just going to have to figure this out myself. I'm just going to have to be like this for the rest of my life and figure out ways to deal with it, because the system is not set up to help you. And, you know, there's work to be done. We need to and this is why we need to have conversations like this, to show people the reality of the mental health system and how it's set up, and how it's set up for people to just be left on their own, to feel isolated, because it's a shambles. And that's how you know, some people might think differently, and I know people who've been through the system and it's helped them loads. Everyone's got their own mental health story, but this is just mine at this moment in time, and I just wanted to share how I felt and how I feel and how loneliness makes me feel. And yeah, hopefully we can have more conversations about it in the future. I'm sure I'll probably do another video. I hope this made loads of sense. It's hard to kind of talk about loneliness when you're kind of discovering things out about yourself. This is as much a self-reflective vlog for me as it is for me to kind of share with you how I feel.
I feel so much better, so much.
Anyway, that is the end of the video. I am drained now from talking about that for so much. I feel like I've had a therapy session. But yeah, comment, share, like me or subscribe to me on YouTube if you want. Do what you like, but just kind of, you know, comment, let's just talk more. You know, it helps me. I'm sure it will help you. And yeah, let's just kind of combat mental health and, you know, create discussion more together.